reason most men die poor is not because wealth is rare, because discipline is. They chase illusions, morality, and comfort, while power and gold go those who understand the brutal simplicity of strategy. Tonight, we uncover what the weak overlook and why Machiavelli's principles still hold the key to becoming truly rich in gold, power, and influence. So, they say wealth belongs to the lucky. They say some are born into fortune, while others are destined to serve it. But those who repeat this lie have already surrendered. Luck is the language of the powerless, an excuse spoken by those who refuse to see that every fortune is built upon strategy, not miracles. When I wrote of princes in power, I did not speak of crowns or titles. I spoke of systems that turn chaos into control, chance into opportunity, and effort into dominance. If you wish to understand wealth, understand this: every empire, every dynasty, every fortune began with one principle. Someone dared to design their fate instead of waiting for it. In Florence, I watched merchants rise higher than nobles. They were not braver nor wiser, but they understood the rhythm of opportunity. They positioned themselves where fortune would pass, and when it came, they seized it without hesitation. The common man prays for wealth. The strategist prepares for it. He studies the terrain, the flow of money, the weaknesses of others, the desires that move men like tides. He does not ask, "How do I get rich?" He asks, "Where is power shifting? Who will need me when the storm arrives?" He sees beyond the surface. For him, wealth is not the reward, it is the byproduct of foresight. In my time, princes built armies, merchants built networks. One conquered cities, the other conquered minds. Which do you think endured longer? Power built on violence burns out with the sword. Power built on intelligence compounds like interest. And yet, the masses still chase the illusion of effort. They work harder but never wiser. They trade their time for coins, while the strategist trades ideas for gold. Wealth does not reward the honest worker. It rewards the one who understands how to make honesty profitable. That is why I say, to grow rich, you must first abandon the notion that the world is fair. The world does not owe you equity. It rewards those who impose order upon it. Every man is born into chaos. The wise turn that chaos into a system that serves them. The fools complain about circumstance. The strategist builds circumstance. Think of the banker who lends, the ruler who taxes, the merchant who sets prices. Each one shapes the structure that others must obey. This is not luck, this is architecture. And architecture of power is the highest art. Fortune, my friend, is not a goddess who blesses the chosen. She is a wild beast that bows only to those who cage her with preparation. You see, when I spoke of I did not mean virtue as the church preaches it. I meant mastery, the ability to bend events to your will. Wealth follows those who possess The man of sees markets before they form, wars before they break, opportunities before they are named. To him, luck is predictable because he designs the conditions where luck must arrive. If you believe that becoming rich is about working hard, you have already lost the game. The powerful do not chase coins. They move levers. They control information, perception, and timing. When others are blind with greed, they stay patient. When others hesitate, they strike. The art of strategy lies in restraint, knowing when to wait and when to act. Most men can labor endlessly, but few can think silently. That is why they will always serve the ones who can. The illusion of luck comforts the mediocre. It tells them their failure was destiny, not weakness. But I tell you this, every king, every merchant prince, every modern tycoon, all share one trait: they planned for fortune long before it arrived. They studied the winds of society, the hunger of the masses, and they built themselves as the answer to a future demand. That is not luck. That is design. To build wealth, you must think like a general. Money is your army. Information is your map. The market is your battlefield, and your enemy is distraction. The endless temptations that make men forget their mission. The wise man deploys his time as a commander deploys troops strategically, efficiently, and always with purpose. Do not envy those who seem born into privilege. Envy those who built systems out of nothing. The Medici were not born gods. They mastered the flow of money until popes and kings bowed to them. They understood that influence is the purest form of currency. Every coin follows power. Not morality, not effort, not fairness. When a man says, he is lucky, he reveals his own blindness. He cannot see the years of positioning, the silent patience, the calculated alliances behind another man's success. He mistakes precision for chance. But a strategist smiles, for he knows that every empire begins invisibly in the mind of one who refuses to play the game by ordinary rules. So understand this: wealth is not luck. It is the logical result of strategy, discipline, and the ruthless ability to act when others hesitate. Those who wait for fortune will die dreaming of it. Those who study it, master it, and plan for it. They will command it. And when the world calls them lucky, they will simply smile, knowing that their so-called luck was built, brick by brick. By design, men are taught from birth to be good, obedient, kind, and moral. They are told that virtue will lead them to prosperity, that fairness will reward them, that patience and honesty will make them loved. But I tell you, these are lies crafted by the powerful to tame the ambitious. Morality, in the way the masses understand it, is not a path to power. It is a chain. It binds your instincts, weakens your decisions, and blinds you to the truth that governs all human affairs. Power respects results, not intentions. In my time, I saw men lose kingdoms because they hesitated to act ruthlessly when it was required. They believed that goodness alone would guard them. But the world does not protect the good, it devours them. The lion does not spare the lamb because it is gentle. The sea does not calm itself for the fisherman's prayer. Nature itself is indifferent. And yet men believe that morality will shield them from the storm of ambition. You must understand this. Morality is useful, but only when it serves your strategy. A prince must appear just, merciful, and loyal, but only as long as it strengthens his power. The moment morality begins to limit his control, it becomes poison. A wise man knows when to wear virtue as a mask, and when to remove it without hesitation. Those who cling to goodness at the expense of strategy are not noble. They are victims of their own illusions. To build wealth, power, or legacy, you must see morality not as a code, but as a tool. It is a language that calms the herd, a shield that disarms suspicion, a performance that wins hearts before you strike. The rich, the powerful, the rulers of every era, they all master this duality. They preach generosity but negotiate ruthlessly. They speak of justice but protect only their interests. And the masses, blind with emotion, continue to believe that virtue guides them. I do not tell you to be cruel without reason. Cruelty without purpose destroys its wielder, but cruelty guided by vision, that is power. Mercy is admirable only when it strengthens your position. Otherwise, it becomes weakness paraded as nobility. The world is ruled not by saints but by strategists who understand when morality must be sacrificed for control. Consider the merchant who refuses to manipulate markets out of fairness. He will be devoured by competitors who do not share his conscience. Consider the leader who hesitates to remove threats in the name of mercy. His enemies will not hesitate to remove him. History does not remember the merciful, it remembers the victorious. The moral man seeks approval, but the powerful man seeks authority. One wants to be liked, the other obeyed. The greatest deception of all is the idea that wealth and morality can coexist without conflict. When you rise, people will call you greedy, heartless, or corrupt. Not because you are, but because your ambition exposes their cowardice. The poor man comforts himself with morality because he cannot afford power. It becomes his refuge, his justification for failure. He tells himself he is good because he is harmless. But goodness that lacks influence is not virtue. It is impotence disguised as ethics. You must learn the art of selective morality. Give the world a mask of righteousness, but never let it dictate your will. Act kind, speak noble, appear honorable. But behind the mask, let your mind remain cold, analytical, and unshaken by guilt. This is how empires are built. The Medici spoke of virtue while buying the loyalty of priests and kings. They used the language of faith to legitimize their dominance. The result: wealth beyond imagination, power beyond challenge. If you wish to master wealth, understand that perception is stronger than truth. Appear moral to gain trust. Use that trust to expand your control. The game is not about honesty, it is about influence, and influence belongs to those who can make others believe in their virtue while quietly pursuing their interests. This is not deception, this is survival. In a world of predators, only the cunning prosper. Look at the powerful of today. They donate in public but exploit in private. They speak of equality while building monopolies. They smile on camera while their empires move in silence. You may call them immoral, but they are merely following the oldest principle of dominance, that power and purity cannot coexist in equal measure. To rise, you must accept that being good is not enough. You must be effective. The moral man hesitates when opportunity demands boldness. He fears judgment, criticism, and loss of reputation. But the strategist understands that reputation is a tool. It can be shaped, destroyed, and rebuilt. The masses worship consistency, the powerful worship adaptability. Those who cling to moral purity are predictable, and predictability is a weakness. To control others, you must remain unreadable, unbound by their moral compass. Do not confuse ruthlessness with cruelty. The ruthless man cuts emotion away from action. He acts not from hatred, but from necessity. He knows that in the pursuit of power, one must sometimes betray, manipulate, or deceive. Not out of pleasure, but because survival demands it. The man who cannot make hard decisions will always serve the one who can. So when you walk the path of power, remember this. Morality is not your master. It is your servant. Use it to gain trust, to inspire loyalty, to build your legend. But never let it rule you. For in the end, the world does not ask whether you were good. It only remembers whether you were victorious. Most men spend their entire lives playing games they did not create. They obey rules written by others, compete within systems designed to keep them small, and call it ambition. They think they are moving toward freedom, but every move they make only strengthens the cage. I have seen kings fall, merchants collapse, and empires crumble, not because they lacked strength, but because they played by another man's design. The first law of power is not to win the game. It is to own it. In my time, the rulers of Florence did not lift swords or toil in markets. They designed the systems, the taxes, the banks, the laws, and others work within them. The people believed they had freedom, but every choice they made ultimately served the ones who controlled the structure. That is the secret of true wealth and dominance. Control the framework, and you control every outcome. Those who play the game fight endlessly for small rewards. Those who design it set the limits, define the prizes, and decide who wins. The worker trades hours for coins, while the ruler invents the value of the coin itself. One sweats, the other decides. That is not luck, that is architecture. And it is architecture that determines destiny. Every society, every market, every institution is a machine built by someone's vision. The powerful are those who understand the machine, who know where to pull the levers and when to replace its parts. They do not waste energy fighting others within it. They study its design until they can alter it to their advantage. The difference between the rich and the poor, the ruler and the ruled, is not effort. It is authorship. When you control the game, you no longer need to fight for power. Power flows to you naturally. The world runs on rules that most people never question. They are taught to work, to obey, to consume, to dream, all within boundaries they did not choose. But the Machiavellian mind questions everything. Who created this rule? Benefits from it? Who loses when I follow it? Once you ask these questions, you begin to see the invisible architecture of control that governs every society. Wealth and influence do not belong to those who work hardest. They belong to those who design the systems of work itself. Think of the merchant who creates a marketplace. Others rush to sell within it, but he earns a share of every exchange. Think of the banker who lends money. Others build empires, but he owns their debt. Think of the modern ruler who shapes laws. Others fight for equality while he defines what equality means. In every age, the pattern remains unchanged. Those who play lose. Those who set the rules rule. But to control the game, you must first escape it. Most men cannot. They are addicted to validation, to competition, to the thrill of minor victories. They waste their genius trying to outdo others when they should be designing something entirely their own. It takes discipline to step away from the noise, to see the structure from above, and to reshape it with cold precision. The crowd loves conflict. The strategist loves design. Understand this. Power is never given. It is engineered. When I wrote The Prince, I was not teaching men how to rule with kindness. I was teaching them how to construct conditions in which others could not oppose them. A wise ruler makes his power invisible. People believe they are free even as they move within his design. That is the highest form of control, when your influence becomes the air they breathe. In the pursuit of wealth, the same principle applies. Most chase opportunity. The few create platforms where opportunity flows to them. The builder of a system earns from the energy of others. He does not need to win every time. He simply ensures that the game itself keeps paying him. This is the essence of leverage. To make structure serve you while you remain still. Do not waste your life fighting for small victories. Do not seek approval from those above you. Study the rules until you see their flaws, then write your own. Every great fortune began as a rebellion against the existing game. The Medici did not follow Florence's trade laws. They wrote new ones. The conquerors of history did not play by old treaties. They created new borders. The masters of wealth today do not follow trends. They build systems that dictate what trends will exist. You must learn to see beyond the surface of power. A throne is not power. Control of the system that defines thrones is. Money is not wealth. Control of the flow of money is. Reputation is not influence. Control of what defines reputation is. The visible is always a distraction. True mastery lies in the invisible. Those who control definitions, narratives, and mechanisms of reward silently shape the destiny of everyone else. And remember, control does not always mean force. The most elegant control is voluntary. When people willingly enter your system, believing it serves them, you have achieved what no army could: obedience without resistance. That is how the church ruled souls, how merchants ruled commerce, how rulers shaped nations. They made others love the very game that enslaved them. So if you wish to rise, stop playing the game handed to you. Build your own, define your own rules. Create systems where others compete, and you collect the rewards regardless of the outcome. Power belongs not to the strongest or the fastest, but to the one who shapes the field where the strong and the fast must fight. Most men believe that greatness lies in complexity, in endless plans, intricate theories, and sophisticated excuses. They think intelligence is shown through complication, that success must be wrapped in mystery. But the truth, my friend, is the opposite. Simplicity is not the absence of depth. It is the presence of clarity. It is ruthless, efficient, and coldly decisive. The powerful do not drown in details, they cut through them. The weak hide behind complexity because they fear commitment to a single clear path. When I studied princes and states, I saw one common pattern. Those who failed were consumed by their own confusion. They built structures too fragile to sustain pressure, alliances too tangled to control, and strategies too clever for their own use. They mistook business for progress. The wise ruler, however, sees the world through the blade of simplicity. He focuses on one essential truth, one direction, one goal, and eliminates everything that does not serve it. To become rich, powerful, or uncheckable, you must think like this. The world tempts you with noise, opinions, distractions, endless choices that dilute your strength. You chase 10 ideas and master none. You read endless advice and act on nothing. Complexity keeps you moving in circles while clarity drives you forward like an arrow. The truth is that most people prefer to appear intelligent rather than become effective. But power cares nothing for appearances. It rewards results. Simplicity, when used correctly, is brutal. It demands sacrifice, of comfort, of uncertainty, of unnecessary motion. It forces you to decide what truly matters and discard what does not. This is why few people ever master it. Because clarity leaves no place to hide. Once you know what must be done, there are only two choices left: act or fail. And most men would rather remain confused than face that choice. In the courts of Florence, I watched leaders crumble because they could not choose a single direction. They wanted to please everyone, control every outcome, anticipate every move. In doing so, they achieved nothing. The great men, however, were cold in their focus. They chose one path, even if it meant conflict, even if it meant blood. And because of that, history remembers their names. Simplicity demands courage. It requires the will to say no, 100 times for the sake of one decisive us. In wealth, the same law applies. Most people complicate the pursuit of riches because it comforts them to believe it is difficult. They speak of timing, markets, secrets, and luck. Anything to justify their paralysis. But the truth of wealth is brutally simple. You either create value that others need, or you control the flow of value others create. Everything else is distraction. Complexity exists to protect the ego of the mediocre. It gives them something to blame when they fail. The powerful, on the other hand, strip away excuses until only results remain. Do not mistake simplicity for softness. Simplicity is ruthless because it does not entertain weakness. It exposes inefficiency, destroys illusion, and demands precision. When a man commits to a clear purpose, every wasted motion becomes visible. He sees how much time others spend chasing comfort, gossip, and fantasy. He no longer seeks to be busy, he seeks to be effective. And that is when the world begins to bend in his favor. Think of the great strategists. Their plans appear effortless, their moves almost obvious once revealed. But that is the mark of mastery, making the complex appear simple. The untrained mind cannot see this. It chases cleverness, layering plans upon plans, losing sight of the core principle that drives everything. The master strips it all down to one rule, one structure, one decisive act. The masses call it genius only after it succeeds. Simplicity is the language of control. Complexity is the refuge of the uncertain. When you simplify, you claim power over confusion. You begin to see the invisible patterns that guide human behavior: greed, fear, desire, pride. These forces are simple, eternal, predictable. Once you understand them, you can manipulate them with precision. But those who complicate their thinking drown in unnecessary analysis and moral hesitation, never seeing that the world runs on a few consistent truths. If you wish to build something great, a fortune, an empire, a legacy, learn to think in straight lines. Choose the shortest path to the outcome you desire and eliminate everything else. The world rewards decisiveness, not cleverness. The man who acts on a simple plan will always defeat the man who debates a complex one. Clarity moves faster than confusion. Simplicity is also the foundation of authority. When your vision is clear, others can follow it. When your message is simple, others can repeat it. Power grows when direction is unified, but if your strategy is tangled in contradictions and endless explanations, your influence dissolves. The great leaders of every age spoke in simple truths, not because they lacked intelligence, but because they understood persuasion. The crowd does not follow complexity, it follows confidence. And yet, most will never embrace this. They cling to the comfort of complexity because it feels safer than action. They hide behind endless planning because it protects them from failure. But the strategist knows that overthinking is another form of fear, a disguise for hesitation. Simplicity requires courage because it strips away the illusion of safety. It forces you to move, so understand this. Simplicity is the sharpest weapon in the arsenal of the powerful. It is not passive, not naive, not limited. It is focused, disciplined, and unyielding. Complexity is a trap designed to drain your will. The man who masters simplicity masters himself, and once a man controls himself, he begins to control the world around him. You have now seen what most men never dare to confront. That getting rich, powerful, and free is brutally simple, but never easy. The world hides this truth beneath 1,000 distractions, moral sermons, and comforting lies. But beneath them all, the same eternal laws whisper the same message that wealth does not reward goodness, but clarity, not luck, but strategy, not effort, but control. Fortune does not favor the humble worker or the dreamer who waits. She bows before those who build systems, bend rules, and move with ruthless purpose. The powerful do not chase opportunity. They create the stage upon which opportunity must appear. They do not beg for fairness. They define it. They do not worship complexity. They cut through it until only truth remains. The world is a game, yes, but one designed by a few for the obedience of many. Most spend their lives competing, arguing, struggling, never realizing they are fighting inside a cage built by the minds of those who understood these principles long before them. You must decide which you will be, the player or the architect, the follower or the forger of rules. Do not mistake these truths for cruelty. They are simply the nature of power stripped of illusion. The lion is not evil for hunting, nor the hawk for striking. They act according to their nature, and so must you. If you wish to rise, abandon the comforting myths of luck and morality. Learn to think like the masters of every age, strategically, simply, and without apology. Remember this. Fortune smiles only on those who have prepared a place for her to arrive. Every step you take without strategy strengthens the hand of those who already understand it. The path to power and wealth is not hidden, it is only ignored. See it clearly, act decisively, and the world will begin to move as you will it to.